When it comes to the Haggadah, we read the first stanza. So imagine this. We come from the synagogue, we go to our Seders, and we have the Kiddush, and we've just started. The very first statement of the Haggadah is, Kol dichfin yete v'yechol, whoever is needy, let them come and eat. Like we're announcing, whoever's hungry, whoever's wants to participate with me in my Seder, please come join me. The question is, if you want to invite poor people, if you want to invite the hungry, then you invite them a few weeks before the Passover Seder. You call them up, you WhatsApp them, you Facebook them, you message them, you say, hey, I want you to join my Seder. But what's the point of announcing to everybody that please join my Seder once your Seder has started, once your doors are locked, basically, and then nobody can hear you but you and your family? First of all. Second of all, why don't we do the same thing by every other holiday? How about Sukkot, where the Torah explicitly says, I want you to invite the poor people. And a true simcha, true happiness is only when you have other people participate with you in the joy of the festival. In fact, Sukkot is actually called Zman Simchatenu. But how about Rosh Hashanah? How about Shavuot? Why only on Pesach do we invite the poor people? Now, the reason why we say this statement in Aramaic is because Aramaic in those days was the English. It was the language that all Jews spoke. So that makes sense, that part. And the answer is, there's a tremendous lesson here. You see, Yetziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt. Once upon a time, the Jews were shackled in Egypt. The Jews were slaves in Egypt. But what does Mitzrayim mean today in my life? The word Mitzrayim, Egypt, comes from the word Meitzarim, which means constraints and limitations. Every single one of us has certain things that limit us. Some people get angry. Some people get depressed. Some people can't find a job. Some people are just like stuck. They're just stuck. They can't find a spouse. Some people are stuck in a marriage. We all have things that we are stuck with that inhibit us, that limit us. And Yetziat Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, means going out of that limitation, going out of that boundary. Becoming free people means going out of that thing that shackles us. You see, a servant, a slave, in the physical sense of the word, can only think about his or her survival. They can't think anything further than that. True freedom, you want to know when you are truly free, is when you're able to give to another person. When you're able to look at another person and care for his or her needs, that makes you free. You see, the reason why we recite this statement on Passover night and not any other holiday is because Passover, we're talking about freedom. And why do we recite it after we're already seated at our Seder? Is because that stanza is directed to us. It's directed to me and to all those present at the Seder. And what God is saying, you want to be truly liberated, you want to be truly free, think about another person. Give another person what they need. Give them their needs for the Passover Seder. Give them tzedakah. Call them. Think about them and what they want. And then you will experience true freedom. By the way, the Passover Seder has a very unique mitzvah. It says that the Paschal lamb had to be eaten before Chatzot, before midnight. So every Jew had to take a lamb and finish the whole thing. You weren't allowed to leave over anything for the morning. So what happened is, an average family, there's no way you can finish a whole lamb. It's impossible. So what happened is you forced yourself to go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, what are your Passover plans? You want to join me? Let's do it together. So a few families, 5, 6, 7 families got together on Passover night to finish and consume the lamb, do the mitzvah. What that did is it forced you to communicate with your neighbor. In fact, it's one of the only places in Torah where it says the word shachen, neighbor. You had to knock on your neighbor's door and you had to do it together. There was once a very big philanthropist. His name was Mr. Stern. And for his 80th birthday, his family got together, his children, his grandchildren, his friends, all got together for a beautiful 80th celebration to celebrate this beauty of this person, Mr. Stern. And he was a big philanthropist. He gave to a lot of charities. He was an amazing man. And towards the end of the night, one of his children asked him, tell me, Father, what was the most momentous occasion in your life? What was like the moment? And he thought he would say, the day I had turned bar mitzvah, or the day I got married, or the day I made my first million, maybe the day I bought my first shopping mall. And Mr. Stern thought for a second. He told all his family and friends, the most momentous day of my life happened in the Holocaust. We were in the concentration camps. And we were there. The Germans put us six in like a bunk. Six of us slept in a bunk. And in the winter, it was freezing cold. And there was one blanket to be shared between all of us. And every night, somebody had a turn to put the blanket on him. And, it partially covered the rest of us, but it was mainly on one person. Each night, we had a turn. And one night, it was my turn. And this blanket caused us such happiness, joy in the concentration camps, in the barracks, because it provided a little bit of warmth in that freezing hellhole. It was my turn. And I had that warmth. And then I looked at my 5 neighbors and I realized they were freezing. I was a young man. So I thought to myself, should I give over the blanket to another person? Should I keep it? It's my turn. And in the end, I decided that I'm just going to keep a little bit of the blanket, but most of the blanket I'm going to give to my neighbors next to me. And I froze that night. But you know what happened? That was the most momentous moment in my life. The moment I was able to rise above myself and give, it was like being unshackled for that moment. Yes, I was a prisoner. Yes, I was in Auschwitz. Yes, everything was taken away from me. But because I was able to give, it enabled me to become free for that moment. On Passover night, we tell our family and ourselves the greatest gift to be able to unshackle yourself is to give to another person. May we all experience that beauty, that Pesach Seder liberation every moment of our lives.